Each year in early July, one of Japan's most celebrated orchids comes into bloom, Neophanetia falcata. Specialized forms of this plant are called Fuukiran in Japan, literally translating as wealth and rank orchid, or riches and honors orchid. In times past, only members of Japan's high society are allowed to even look at them, let alone grow them. It is said if you breathed on one, it was an offense that might cost you your head. In more recent times, the punishment for having them is mostly due to their high cost. A rare variety, even these days, can fetch thousands of dollars, provided you're willing to pay. I'm lucky enough to both live in Japan and have an orchid nursery that specializes in Fuukiran nearby. Each year I make the journey across Fukuoka City to Ogawa Garden's Fuukiran show. This year I've also decided to stay at a hot spring hotel close to the nursery, and hike up a local mountain the next day in search of another native orchid, Oreorchis patens. The journey to the nursery is done by bike, starting out in the relative countryside of the town I live in. Soon after, the going gets a lot more intense since just a couple kilometers from my doorstep marks the beginning of the vast urban expanse that makes up Fukuoka's metropolitan area. Here, centimeters on either side of my path determine literal life and death, so care must be taken without pause. I clear the first hurdle passing through Kasuya town and make it to the edge of Fukuoka City itself and the airport that serves much of northern Kyushu. Here I turn to the south, and now I'm in for the real test, traveling into the deep urban landscape down a major artery through a section I simply call the Gauntlet. The key to survival here is to get through as fast as possible. After about 25 kilometers of city riding, I turn to the southeast and start up a broad valley that leads to the nursery. The riding remains intense, but bit by bit the landscape opens up into countryside and smaller settlements. After about an hour and a half of intense urban cycling, I finally make it to the nursery. And the show is on. Every bench is loaded with N. falcata in full flower. Each plant is unique, and if you look closely, you can distinguish minute details. For instance, the color of the growing root tips. Many forms have a brownish root tip, known as dorone, while others are brilliant green, or aone, and yet others a deep wine red, akane. The most rare and coveted, though, are plants with ruby red tips, rubine. Of course, leaf shape and variegation are also highly variable. Less known by many is the variation in the shape of the attachment point of the leaf blade to the orchid's main stem, known as tsuke in Japanese. Some have a pretty straight tsuke, known as ichimonji, meaning in a straight line. Others with a slightly curved shape are called tsukigata, or moon shape. More rare ones have a peak in the middle and hence are called yamagata, or mountain shape. Yet more rare ones have a wavy shape, and not surprisingly, these are called namigata, or wave shape. The variety seikai, in addition, has a blue-colored leaf base or petiole below the point of attachment of the leaf blade, a trait called aojiku, making this form even more unusual and coveted. Flower color and especially form are also highly variable. To learn more about these differences, please watch my other video about Fuukiran, or read the articles I've written about these plants on my blog. Click on the card teasers above for both of those now. Here is a sample of plants I saw this year, as well as a sprinkling from last year's show that I haven't published yet. Each are supplied with a bit of written detail for your interest and pleasure. Please enjoy the show, and don't forget to keep watching for tomorrow's orchid hunt adventure. Before heading to the hotel for the night and a well-deserved bath and dinner, I round up what energy I have left to climb another 300 meters to an amazing waterfall, Bozuketaki. As fate would have it, the rains start up again as I ascend the trail, and soon I find it washed out in many places. Due to record-breaking rains over the past week, the waterfall is at its full force and volume. The extreme flow and 15-meter drop are awe-inspiring and create a wind whipping the surrounding forest. Such places both inspire and humble me physically as well as spiritually. The next day I find the valley below fogged in, but soon it disperses with the heat of the rising sun. After checking out, it's time to ride back downhill. The going is fast and wet, so I have to take care. Soon I'm crossing a bucolic landscape complete with rolling hills, rice paddies, and small settlements. The climb begins in earnest. Starting around 150 meters elevation, I have another 250-meter climb to where I'll park the bike. As I enter the forest, the going gets quite wild due to the heavy rains, and in places the small road is more like a rushing stream bed. Even the normally gentle stream this road follows is in roaring flood. A recent landslide blocks the way, and I have to make it on foot from here. I begin to wonder if I'll be able to make it to the place where the orchid grows, since the trail might be utterly washed out. I find it not washed out as such, but rather a stream in and of itself that I have to slog up. On the way, I find a colony of the epiphytic orchid, Thrixpermum japonicum, growing in a small Japanese yew tree. This tiny plant naturally dangles from its host, leaving it prone to falling off at any moment, and to its death onto the forest floor. It flowers in April with cute clusters of yellow blossoms. The forest explodes with bird song and water rushing from all around. Luckily, as the heat of the day builds, I gain more altitude and thus am protected from its full force. Before long, I come to a nice swimming hole and foolishly decide to go for a dip. The water is cold, and I do mean cold. Suddenly, heat is the farthest thing from my mind. A bit further up the trail, I'm rewarded with yet another orchid, this time in flower. It is a twayblade, Leparis nervosa, notable for its almost black flowers and worldwide distribution. You're as likely to see it in Florida as Tanzania or Taiwan, a fact remarkable in itself. A set of moss-covered boulders nearby harbor yet another unique treasure, a fern that looks more like a grass than a fern, Vitaria flexuosa. Its unfurling curled fronds reveal its true identity, though, even to the untrained eye. The path leads ever up through seemingly endless forest and stream crossings. At points, the trail simply merges with the stream it follows, and it's a slippery rock scramble from here on. All at once, I find myself in the midst of a colony of wild hydrangea in full flower. This species is a small leaf and flowering variety with the Latin name H. serrata, since the leaves are highly toothed. The Japanese name is simply mountain hydrangea, Yama ajisai. The orchid colony is close now, and though fatigued, my anticipation grows. Will I find them again? Will they still be in flower? I search the deep woods in a fading light. The clouds of yesterday have returned. Soon I find a plant, but it is already in seed. Perhaps I am too late. Searching nearby yields more plants, but alas, these too have gone to seed. The flowers of this plant, though diminutive, are highly colored. I'm afraid I can only show you shots of them I got 10 years ago at this very place and in this very season. It's getting late and time to head back. It has been a good trip, and all I need now is to safely navigate my way back home. And with that in mind, I make the descent out of this forested valley to the hamlets, towns, and city beyond, and then on to my home. That journey is how I'll end this video. Perhaps now that you have a taste of my journeying firsthand, you can enjoy and appreciate the wonders I've witnessed all the more. With that, I bid you adieu until my next adventure. Home sweet home. Whew.